She is the editorial director for HFN.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about what consumers want from smart housewares. So I've asked this question in a few, what do consumers want from smart housewares?
You know, I think that what is resonating for consumers mostly right now are the voice-activated, things like Alexa and Google Home. That's probably the most popular item that's selling, but we are seeing an uptick in appliances, whether it's large appliances, but even more so seeing an uptick in small appliances that have smartware. I call it smartware. It's sort of a little ism, but what they're looking for is things that will make their lives easier and to be able to control their lives remotely. It's sort of the same thing around omni-channel, right? The consumer wants to be able to buy when they want to, where they want to, from their phone, from their tablet, from their desktop, at work, at play, but they don't want to be strapped to their home. So anything we can do to make that make their lives easier, and so that they can control their home environment from wherever they are.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
So let's stick on Alexa for a second. Is it that they want, so do you have any insight as to why they want it, or if they're getting it as a gift, or like is it our house is filled with Alexas, we use them for timers predominantly, and it makes asking questions some easier. But do you have any insight, like a step deeper into how people are either getting their voice-controlled assistants or how they're using them?
So we don't have specific insights on how they're using them. I think the areas that they're using them for are, then they do have some information. So the voice assistant, 75% of consumers own one.
Okay,
so that's a pretty big number.
That's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yep, and the ones who don't own it, 61% plan to buy it in the next year.
So when you are talking about, does that include Siri? So it could be on somebody's phone, or does that?
Does not include Siri because that's really your home. That's your smart. That's your
okay.
Your
so
phone
it's
device.
a dedicated device. Okay.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
It'd be like the Alexa that you would buy, right?
Yeah.
Or the Dot, or the Google Home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's becoming pervasive. So
okay.
That hands-free, that ability to talk to Alexa like she's a member of your family or whoever that person is on the other end of the line, to assist us. I think we're typing less. We are reading less. We are, getting used to just saying at my fingertips, do this for me, get this info for me, get this recipe for me.
Yeah.
So it's that I think so. That's sort of the foundation. Building on that.
Yeah.
On a national level, there are about 49% of people who own a smart houseware.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good number, right?
And how is that defined?
Yeah, so again, it has to be either voice activated or Wi-Fi Bluetooth enabled, so you can manage it remotely.
Okay, so that include the assistant then, or are we talking other, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the assistance is in the smart home, right?
Yes.
So the houseware is a specific category.
Okay, gotcha,
right?
All right.
But the definition of, how we defined it for the study was it has to be something that is, Wi-Fi enabled or Bluetooth enenabled, and that you can actually manage your life remotely with those tools.
Okay. And is this the first time this study has been done, or did you notice a jump, like in 2017, was a big leap forward, or has it been a steady increase ever?
This is a pretty big leap. We've tracked it for the last 4 years, so it definitely came on the horizon about 4 or 5 years ago. But it seems to be, I think what is helping people get it and connect to it was Siri on our phones. Yeah. Which made Alexa possible, right? Mm-hmm. And Google Home. So having that ubiquitous phone and that tool, I think just made it just so much easier for people to say, oh, I get it. Now I can have that in my home. I don't have to have it just on my phone. Right.
What are some other data points that you have from your study that would be of interest?
One of the things I thought was, by generation, if you look at the ownership, it's not surprising that, if you guess which generation is most apt to buy smartware, what would you say?
Honestly, I would be stumped. Because I would say millennials,
yeah,
okay. Because I would say like my parents, who are in their 70s, love Alexa. Like my mom in particular is very, because it makes things, she can talk and doesn't have to use her hands for things, right? So
right.
so it's not surprising, but it's also one that I wouldn't necessarily have said, like, definitely it's going to be millennials.
Right, so the national figure is 43% own, right? That's
Okay.
on the national blended level. Millennials over-index at 49% own, so almost half of millennials own a smart something, right?
Yeah.
And then their intention and plan to buy is very high. 28% plan to buy in the next year if
Okay.
they don't already have something.
Yeah.
So then you compare that to Gen X, they're pretty strong too at 42%. So they're more on the national average.
Yeah.
And then your boomers a little below national average, but still 40, to your point, 40% have. So even our older generation is connecting to this new technology.
Well, and one of the things we were talking about in a previous panel was just the idea of they're so cheap now where you can gift them. So somebody may not make the purchase themselves,
Correct.
right? But they're giving, like, here is a $50 Echo puck.
Yeah, I
right?
give it away for gifts this year because it really was, so price, affordable.
Yeah.
An Echo Dot really was, I think $17.99 on Amazon or something. So it was like.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what's driving it.
And do you see a halo effect from this? So is the Alexa or Google Home kind of a gateway into smartening up other housewares that they have?
I think so, because I think it was a hard connection for consumers to make about why do I need a smart coffee maker? Why do I need a smart slow cooker? They really weren't connecting to the technology and the need. I mean, for it to really work in a housewares product, it has to be a need that you're answering, or you're making their lives easier or more convenient. It can't just because it's a sexy technology.
Yeah.
It has to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And customer will see through that. So they, show them that it's going to make their lives easier, more convenient, more manageable, where they can manage their lives remotely.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so can you give us a sense of just the research that you've done? How broad and what can you give us a sense of the size and scope of the research?
Sure. So we have two sets of panels, consumer panels, 500 each, because we asked them a lot of questions. So we split the questionnaire up. For our total home, we do consumer speaks and housewares, and smartwares is part of that. We had 1,000 people responding in one way or the other on various categories.
Okay.
So what we did note is, interestingly, smartwares are mostly purchased online. So they do research online.
Yeah.
And an interesting fact I thought was that the higher a consumer's income is, the more inclination they have to purchase online.
Okay.
So, but even lower income, so if you looked at their purchase, by income, 68% of low income folks also purchase online versus high income folks, 83% online.
Yeah.
So it's a 12%,
Yeah.
13% slide, but it's kind of significant, I think. But
Yeah.
overall, this is an online item that's like, and that's why Amazon is doing so well with it, right? So it's the
Right.
#1 retailer where people are going for smartwares, and #2 online is Walmart, and #3 was, I shouldn't speak off the top of my head, no, Best Buy was #2, Walmart was #3.
Really?
Online.
Interesting. Okay.
Brick and mortar?
Yeah.
Who would you think was #1, brick and mortar?
Probably Best Buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they've really done a great job of reinventing themselves around this category.
Yeah.
And a lot of others. They're doing some smart things in technology. They have Apple stores within their store. So they've really adapted well to what the consumer needs in a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Especially in this category. They've done great.
Well, you can see where dominance kind of perpetuates itself, right? With Amazon being the leading e-commerce site, and then like, oh, Prime Day, we're going to mark down all of our Alexas, and we're going to put it on the front page and drive you to our own devices. So you can see them really sort of engendering their own success.
Right.
So that's interesting. Was there any other, as you're going through the results, any other data points that kind of stuck out at you, or you at least took note
I
of?
think just the growth that that we're just seeing steady growth of smart housewares, small appliances, and engaging with this. I was also impressed, even on the trade show floor, seeing sort of non-traditional, non-electric categories connecting the smart home or the internet, or trying to connect digitally with their products digitally to the consumer. There's a tabletop company doing an interesting thing with QR codes. And then offering recipes and connecting on a more emotional level with their customer. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. There has to be more digital crossover. I mean, when you look at the numbers of how much product that is here is being bought online, you have to find another way to connect with people, whether it's a smart product or a beautiful tabletop item.
So what kinds of things do you think people are looking for? So everybody's in a race to make somebody's lives easier or more convenient. What are do you have an understanding of sort of the immediate things people want help with to make their lives better?
Yeah, I think the categories that are growing the fastest, security, home security makes sense, right? Because the way you can lock your doors when you're remote, how you can open and give people access to your home, or food deliveries, right? All of that. So that's really connecting with them. The other area, I think, is anything that makes their lives easier. So security, lighting is another one where they want to be able to access lighting and set up. Let's say you left the house and you're going away for 3 days, and oh my God, I forgot to put my lights on. That you can remotely turn your lights off and on, is another nice service that people are connecting with. So we're seeing smartwares become more ubiquitous in total home, not just in housewares, but total. And I think housewares is going to ride on those coattails.
And have you adopted any smart technologies in your?
I have something called Intelligent Home. It's a security system, and I use it pretty aggressively. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I do it to manage my lighting at home too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And I do have a coffee pot that makes my coffee overnight, or knows when I wake up and I can smell it and it's time to go. So so I think there's certain categories that are just sort of make so much sense to have smartwares around it.
Okay, right. And then are there some big, so this is a collection of brands and people, are there big trends you see? And it may not even be necessarily related to data, it could be other information that you've looked at. Are there big trends you're seeing in terms of smart houseware adoption?
Probably the biggest trend. I think the manufacturer community is being more measured in rolling out smart products to make sure that they're answering a need. I think when we first started, everybody was like, oh, let's just add a UBS to this, or make this Bluetooth enabled, but it wasn't really answering a need that the consumer had necessarily. So I think that has to come first. You have to understand, what does the consumer really want around this product or this category, and then deliver something. And if smart is the answer, then you give it to them there. But don't just give them smart because it's sexy or it's new, but it's not answering a need.
Yeah.
Right?
How is your publication kind of approaching coverage of this emerging market?
Yeah. We started covering it about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was slow. I think interest was very tepid at the time, even among the manufacturing community, and retailers just didn't quite get it. So our role is to educate. So we keep talking about it because we know it's important and it's coming, and the industry and the retailers are going to start embracing it. So our role is to educate and make sure you're ready for when it happens. So hopefully we've done our job, and sometimes we bring forth information that people say, oh, who cares, or it's never going to happen, but here we are, and it is happening. So yeah, it's an important category. We covered a lot, and we also see it in other areas of home, because HFN is a total home book.
Yeah.
So we cover housewares, tabletop, but we go all the way, everything that's inside your home we cover. So furniture, rugs, home decor, we're seeing it all in all aspects. So even sofas, recliners. We're seeing a lot of smart devices within those, and they'll hide them so that it's not ugly. It's not something that you can see, but your sofa can be at different settings for different bodies and different people in the home.
So let's broaden the topic a little bit, given that you kind of cover everything, right? I'm not saying you personally, but your publication.
No, I do everything myself.
Okay, so you cover everything. One-person show.
I have Jacqueline here, who's on my staff, one of my editors. So
welcome.
We have an army. We have a small army.
So let's take a look at just not necessarily smart assistants, but just technology in the home, right? Mm-hmm. You have things like wireless power. You have things like technology enabling bespoke furniture, right? So are there any kind of broad trends you see along those lines, right? Just absolutely. In the adoption, the integration of technology into housewares, and then after that, sort of the types of housewares that are being created that are being allowed by new types of technology that aren't just like being on a website and being able to pick the color, style, and have it shipped to you, capabilities now being more predominant, being more accessible.
Yeah, I think a lot of those technologies are enabling personalization, right? Which is so important. Everybody wants to be able to customize their product the way they want it, how they want it, the sizes they want. So mass customization it's enabling that. So that technology is really important. We are seeing all sorts of nice designs so that you can plug your phone into your end table, but your wires aren't sticking out. So it's hidden wires or hidden plugs within the side tables. LED lighting is a huge trend too. Again, energy efficiency is a big, I think, feature that and benefit that the consumer really wants from smart home products.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot, they're looking to lower their expenses.
Yeah.
So anything that does that for them, if it's making them more efficient, that they're not keeping their lights on all day or using energy they don't need to use, and if they can manage that and manage their budgets better, that's gonna attract them as well.
Yeah.
So beauty is part of it because so you have ugly, unseemly wires around everywhere.
Yeah.
You're seeing furniture with nice, smart little features that you can tuck the wires away and you don't see it.
Yeah, I guess that actually leads to the next question, right? Which is, before you probably had to create the ability, the capabilities, and those may or may not have come in a beautiful design. But now, are you seeing people turning more towards like, well, I don't want it to just be functional. I want it to be pretty. I want it to be nice and be fit in with my existing decor.
Right. It has to be both, right? Because who wants an ugly piece of furniture in their house, right?
I don't.
Yeah, and so for an example, I saw at Las Vegas Market, one of Abison. It's a furniture manufacturer, and they had these beautiful sofas, leather, and they used to always have USB ports and electric functionality that you could see. And then they figured out a nice way to hide that. It's still there, and you just had to flip it up to see it if you wanted it.
Yeah.
But also, you could preset the seats to certain body types. So if you always sit there,
yeah,
the seat would recognize it, and then off you go.
Right.
And gets into your position, whatever that might be. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're going. That's where the technology is going to take us, where it remembers what your comfort level, sort of like the car. Remember how you got in a car with like, okay, you're car driver number one, and zoom, it went into number one position, right?
Yes.
So same kind of thing, only in our sofas and our chairs, and so we're going for customized comfort.
Awesome. And how many times have you been to this particular show?
I've been coming here for about a dozen years.
Okay, so in that time, what have you seen change?
Oh gosh, the show is so big. This didn't exist. The smart pavilion didn't exist. So, this is a huge new category for our industry. I think a huge opportunity to connect with the customer and the way they want you to connect with them. So, really important.
So, so to that, just in your day-to-day, right, and talking with different brands and doing different coverage, have you seen a change in the way they're pitching you stories now? Like, hey, this is what, we're leading with smart stuff. Like, I imagine for a while, everybody was like, hey, we just made this Wi-Fi enabled. Right. And at some point you're like, great, just add it to the list. But are you still seeing any sort of trends in the stories that companies are pitching your publication, that they want you to know, like the news that they're leading with?
Yeah, I think, again, like in the beginning when these products were being rolled out, it was, that kind of thing. Oh, it's like we're all Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled. But like I said, if you're not answering a need, it's like it didn't work, right? So people had to go back and retrench. But you're seeing, interesting things like Storebound, which is right here in Lakeside. They're a small electrics manufacturer, mostly. But then they surprised us last year when we saw that they had this really cool piece of furniture, and it was a coffee table, Wi-Fi enabled. It was a cooler. You could pull out the door. You could put beer. It was like a party table. You could plug in your devices. It also had music built in. You could tell it what music to listen to, so you could preload it. It was all Alexa or voice activation enabled. So here's a company that understood the technology and is figuring out how to apply it to other home furnishings.
Yeah.
So you're seeing some surprises like that. So there's no reason that you have to necessarily stay within housewares. I mean, you can, if you have the technology and you understand the customer and what they need, then you can expand out into other categories where that's, where you can connect with them.
Yeah.
You know?
So does your staff, as you're looking at, do you pay attention to things like Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Absolutely.
To see kind of what new things are happening in housewares out there, and sort of like, person in their basement coming up with some plan?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Storebound totally funded that table on Indiegogo.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So they got a lot of feedback, and they've perfected the design because of that. So yeah, I think it's great fodder and great article ideas for us in there of what's coming next, where the industry is going, for sure.
Yeah. Are there any questions? Yes. The question was, which vendors in the kitchen does she find particularly innovative?
Around smartware, smart home. Storebound would be one that I mentioned. They're over here in Lakeside. Jarden is definitely a market leader that's owned by Newell now, Newell Rubbermaid. Those are probably the top two that I see a lot of action and innovation coming from. But there are a lot of others. A lot of Cuisinart on the coffee side, coffee maker side, and all of these entrepreneurs you see right here. This is the future. So spend some time with these people, because the technologies that they have, they're going to be selling them to the manufacturers that we all know, so that they can expand in this area. So the technology is coming from this level, these entrepreneurs right here. So you spend some time talking to these folks, and you'll learn, sort of where the market is going. The manufacturing community is learning as well, but they're learning from all these guys, all these smart people. That's where innovation's coming from.
Any other questions? What's one thing people should be on the lookout for this year?
In smart?
In smart.
I think, going back to the core, just anything that will make their lives easier and more convenient, and help them manage anything that stresses people out when they're away from home. Anything that you can offer them that will help them manage that and not worry about it anymore when they're away. I don't know exactly what that is, but we all have a lot of stresses and responsibilities when we're away. Whether it's pet control, petty sitting, or talking to your pets, or your children. What are all the things we worry about? So anything that can help people reduce their stress when they're away, that they can manage their life remotely. That's what it's all about.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Marie. We appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
Big round of applause, please, for Marie. Thank you.